In today's Farm Report, winter is upon us, and that means producers are looking at ventilation to keep their animals healthy and comfortable. But how do you know if you have adequate ventilation? Emily Wilmes with the University of Minnesota Extension Service Office shares some techniques and tips on how to determine how much ventilation you need.
Recently, I've been getting a lot of calls from dairy producers about calf barn ventilation. Having good and adequate ventilation for your calves is crucial for overall health and the prevention of respiratory disease. With fall upon us and winter on its way, it's a good idea to review your ventilation now so you can avoid problems down the road. A component of ventilation that is sometimes overlooked is the stocking density of your calf pens. Just like cows, calves of all ages have space requirements that need to be met in order to keep them comfortable and healthy. Simply measure your pens and calculate total square footage, then divide by the number of animals in the pen. Do your numbers match up with the following suggestions? For baby calves aged 0 to 2 months, they need a minimum of 30 square feet per animal. For weaned calves aged 2 to 4 months, they also need about 30 square feet. Heifers aged 4 to 8 months require 40 square feet of space per head, and heifers aged 8 to 12 months require 50 square feet. Those square footage measurements are for a bedded pen or pack area and do not include the feeding area. For weaned calves, feeding area requirements are 18 inches with slant bar dividers. For 4 to 8 month old heifers, it's 15 inches per animal, and for 8 to 12 month old heifers, it's 17 inches per animal. Another important component of ventilation, and the one we probably think of most often, is ventilating rates. Ventilating rates vary based on the age of the animal and the current weather conditions. The following rates are given in CFMs, which is cubic feet per minute, and measures the velocity of airflow. For baby calves aged 0 to 2 months, the CFM requirements are 15 in cold weather, 30 in mild weather, 65 in warm weather, and 100 in hot weather. Note that these requirements are per calf, so if you have 15 calves in your barn at this age during cold weather, they would require 225 CFM altogether. For calves and heifers aged 2 to 12 months, CFM requirements are 20 in cold weather, 40 in mild weather, 90 in warm weather, and 130 in hot weather. So if you have 15 older calves in hot weather, their CFM requirement altogether is 1,950. Calf ventilation plays an important role in keeping your calves healthy, and knowing what your calves' space and ventilation requirements are the first step in making sure they are properly ventilated. This is Emily Wilmes with the University of Minnesota Extension.
Many of the nation's top agriculture, food, and biofuel companies have pledged to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions as the White House tries to build a case for an international climate agreement. Looking ahead to the Paris climate talks that start on November 30th, the White House announced this week commitments from 81 companies. This story and more at fallsradio.com. Click on Farm News under the News tab. Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack yesterday announced preliminary farm-to-school census data for the school year 2013-2014 that indicated strong farm-to-school programs can increase the number of students purchasing school breakfast and lunch, improve consumption of healthier foods at school, and reduce plate waste. Census data also indicated that schools purchased nearly $600 million worth of food locally in school year 2013-2014. A 55% increase over the school year 2011-2012 when the first farm-to-school census was conducted, creating a new marketing opportunity for farmers and ranchers in their communities. The results are an outcome of efforts by the USDA under Secretary Vilsack's leadership to target resources to help schools serve healthier meals to students following the passage of the bipartisan Healthy, Hunger-Free Kids Act of 2010. Through its Farm-to-School grant program, which was established and funded through the Act, the USDA offers grants to help schools and other eligible entities establish or expand farm-to-school programs. In September, the USDA released a report that shows the grants alone have helped 12,300 schools improve nutritious meal options made with local ingredients for 6.9 million students, while expanding market opportunities for family farmers and ranchers in their communities. The Farm to School Census is a nationally representative survey of school districts. Nationwide, more than 42,000 schools have farm to school programs, which operate in conjunction with the National School Lunch Program and other school meal programs. Many of the nation's top agriculture, food, and biofuel companies have pledged to reduce greenhouse gas emissions as the White House tries to build a case for an international climate agreement. Looking ahead to the Paris climate talks that start on November 30th, the White House announced commitments on Monday from 81 companies, including General Mills, Hershey, Kellogg's, Mars, McDonald's, Monsanto, ethanol giants Embengoa and Poet, and a major California almond producer, Campos Brothers Farms. Several other companies on the list, which include Cargill, PepsiCo, and Walmart, were among 13 firms whose pledges were made public in July. A number of companies also included in their commitments promises to reduce water usage, which would aid in adapting to climate change.
U.S. corn exports continue to decline. During the first 11 months of this past 2015 fiscal year, export shipments were running 7% below the same time frame a year ago. USDA grains analyst Jerry Norton says export demand is weak right now.
We're fighting some very large crops and supplies in South America, particularly Brazil. Brazil's got record corn supplies. They're have improved their infrastructure. They're moving a lot of corn into the market, and we're competing against them, and we're competing with a strong dollar against a weak currency for them in Brazil. So all these things kind of compound the problem early on for the U.S.
And it's certainly having its effect on corn prices.
You're seeing this weakness in prices along the river where barge freight is, well down from a year ago. It's down about 40% from where we were at this time last year.
Lower corn export volumes combined with lower corn prices have brought the value of corn exports down over this last fiscal year by 21%. Norton expects another slight drop in export shipments this marketing year, a drop of less than 1%. Gary Crawford for the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Washington.